Hello humans, and welcome to another episode. I wanted to talk about the Sega guide here. This is done by JP Publications Inc. It was semi-monthly, I believe, back in the day. And I wanted just to read off the magazine if you guys aren't into this kind of thing. So, just letting you know now that I'm going to be doing a lot of reading. So actually just reading a couple of things, but they're pretty relevant to the times that we were in back then. Right. I have to say this is where my soul lives, right? My gaming soul lives in the 90s, up to the Dreamcast and the very beginning of the Xbox 360 and PS3 eras, up to the 7th gen. So this is the editor of this magazine. There's a couple of particular things I wanted to point out, but let me point this out to you here. This is a magazine that was independently published, right? It wasn't one of the big sponsored magazines. So just so you have context, don't be fooled by imitations. You're holding the best-selling independent Sega magazine in the country. No matter what a competitor may run as a subtitle, only we can honestly be called the #1 all Sega magazine, and we're on top because of you. Every week we receive hundreds of letters from new readers telling us why they prefer Game Player's Sega Guide and what they'd like to see in future issues. We value your suggestions. We listen to what you say. I lost my, we listen to what you say and want detailed reviews, in-depth features, and honesty. And we listen when you say you don't want a screenshot and a paragraph on every Mega Drive game in Japan. When you read a review or feature in this magazine, our editors played the game. In every case, we spend as many hours as it takes with a game to give you a fair and a realistic picture of that product. I hope a lot of YouTubers would do that nowadays. And if a game reviewer doesn't like a particular genre, such as RPGs, we assign it to someone who does. After all, would you ask a friend who hates football which is the best Sega football game? Of course not. You'll notice a change in our masthead this issue. Again, this change reflects your opinions. Now we're Sega Guide, more than just a Sega Genesis guide, with expanded coverage of Game Gear, Sega CD, and Sega CD. We'll continue to bring you the kind of reporting you expect from game players across the entire Sega product line. So keep watching us and keep writing. Remember, we wouldn't be the leader without you, right? So they were very prideful about that fact. But there was one question here that really stood out because it was what we were thinking about back in the day. Now remember, guys, this magazine is 31 years old. Yeah, 31 years old. This is from 1992. Let's see here. Yeah, 1992. And this is what we're thinking about a lot. If you owned a Genesis, all you could think about is, when am I getting Street Fighter 2? So I have just a few questions. These are from the readers, of course. Are there any hopes that Street Fighter 2 will come to Genesis? Right? And second, will the Genesis version of Superman be like the arcade game? Third, how would you beat Kingpin in Spider-Man for Genesis? And finally, I've just subscribed and missed the issue with Sonic code in it. Now, this magazine was famous for having a lot of codes in them, guys, so that's why people are asking that. But yeah, here's the answer up here. We've got the answers. First, there's still no word on Street Fighter 2. It would sure make sense for someone to produce a Genesis version. Whoever does will have a bestseller on their hands. We'll keep you informed should Capcom decide to sign with Sega or license the game to a third party for Genesis conversion. About Superman, no. Sunsoft version is a brand new game, so on and so forth. Yeah, guys, I remember that. That's what we were talking about back in the day. Now, one particular thing about this magazine that other magazines wouldn't do, and let me just flip through the pages here. This is the Alien cover. Oh, look, Krusty's Funhouse. But one thing these guys would do that they were notorious for, and actually they stopped doing because of a couple of complaints. Whenever they reviewed a game, they would do the review, right? Tell you what they thought about the game, and then at the end, they would do this. They would put the address of these companies, and so gamers could write to them, maybe give them their thoughts. And as you can imagine, in the era of the internet, internet people did other things with that information, but no, they had all this stuff up there, right? They put the reviews, and then as far, even in the product guides, right, whatever the product was, they would put the old addresses. I was just talking to a Electronic Arts employee, and look, there's the address of their old building, of a building they do other stuff in. And they had, for JVC, for Koei, Game Tech, Namco's address, Parker Brothers. I mean, this is stuff you still can get this information today, but whatever. There's also a very interesting ad here. Let me just flip back through the pages here. I'm trying to do this with one hand, but let me see if I can bring it up here. This is their own advertisement. There's a couple of megabytes. There's a trading card game that was being produced. I never owned those. I always saw them around, but they were never around the area where I was at anyway, so I could never get them. But let me show you this here. There you go. And here it is, guys. Look at that. These are trade-in values. You could get up to $30 for your Genesis games. Isn't that cool? The games that got you the most wouldn't be what you would think, though. Look at these prices as opposed to today's. You get 30 for Chuck Rock, 36 for Bulls versus Lakers. You think they'll answer the phone now? Funko. Look at that. There you go. Accessories. You get $77 for a used control deck, whip brush, Wonder Boy, $28. Oh man, those were the days. Anyway, guys, that was Game Player Sega Guide. This is really the era where a lot of my gaming soul lives, and a lot of good memories of just reading and collecting about video games. I can't get enough of these old guys, and I probably will continue collecting them. The good thing is they're still, relatively cheap. This one was 10 bucks, but you can find them for $1, $2, $5, depending on where you go. Good hunting. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you on the next one.
9, 8.